Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. Iran was building powerful missiles and drones to create a conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions. Let me say that again. A conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions. Our bases, our people, our allies, all in their crosshairs. Iran had a conventional gun to our head as they tried to lie their way to a nuclear bomb. It almost worked under Obama and his terrible deal, but not under this president. Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it.
So the attack on Saudi Arabia's Ras Tanura refinery really marks a pretty significant escalation. And what we're seeing now is that Gulf energy infrastructure is squarely within Iran's sights. We obviously saw a reaction when markets opened today, on Monday, perhaps not quite as extensive as initially feared, but that was partly based on the fact that we hadn't seen any confirmed major damage to regional energy infrastructure, and that has now changed. And so that's why this attack against the Ras Tanura oil refinery, which can process about 500,000 barrels per day, why it's just a significant development. The Gulf states, up until very recently, had done a good job of keeping regional conflict at arm's length. They'd engaged directly with Iran diplomatically, and the reason for that was precisely to shield itself in the event of a regional conflict. And what we're seeing now is that that hasn't worked ultimately. And in terms of the hit to investor sentiment, when you see civilian infrastructure, hotels, airports, infrastructure, industrial zones, and so on targeted, is very damaging to the image of the UAE and the other Gulf states. And so at this stage, for Iran, it's all about ramping up the costs of this conflict. For the Iranian authorities, survival is success at this stage, and what they can do is impose a heavy and economic cost as possible, with the aim of the likes of the UAE and Saudi Arabia, other countries in the region, then potentially putting pressure on the US and Israel to de-escalate because the cost is becoming prohibitive. I think one thing that is absolutely clear is that over the next days and weeks, we are going to be facing a very uncertain environment with a lot of volatility, a lot of big swings in markets as the market tries to digest what is happening, minute by minute and week by week. I think oil pushing beyond $80 seems very likely now. I think there was already concerns about oil pushing well beyond $80 before we had the latest attack on Ras Tanura. The severity of the spike is going to depend a lot on how severe that attack turns out to be. Still unclear whether we're talking about a direct hit, whether it was debris. Operations are now closed, but if we start to see additional direct attacks against energy infrastructure, not just in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, but in other countries in the region, then that's when the market will start to think about a push towards 90 and perhaps even beyond if the US and Israel can't suppress Iran's ability to launch missiles and drones.